This is Cerbat, Trail. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I think I just decided it was Cerbat. It's a pretty good trail. I wasn't sure on the direction to go. I happened to, so like if you see this on like Onyx or some other trail map, you see it's like a line right off of 95, I think, and it just shoots in basically in a ways. It zigs a little bit, but for the most part it's like a straight line in, and then looks like kind of like a big lollipop because it's a big loop, comes right back to the same spot, and then you head right back out to the highway. I went to the right, and the guy that wrote the thing said that he went that way. I feel like going the opposite direction would probably be a little easier, because a lot of the obstacles were on the downhill side, on the back side. So, and maybe if you're just in a regular Jeep or whatever, like doing those going downhill is going to be easier because you have gravity helping. But downhill's has its own little things too that you have to be careful with. But and the other thing, so like here, it's like for some reason it's like I couldn't quite tell, even though I'm on the app, and the person that ran it on the app, like their GPS didn't line up with the trail right, and so it was hard to tell like where I'm supposed to be. So like there was like a little offshoot there, and I just basically run around a little bit and got back to the trail. And I'm always on the trail, but like, and even on the map you see they're like little trail signs everywhere, so like you can go a certain way. But if I'm just doing a trail, then I try to, for the most part, just stick to the trail. Although on this one here I deviated a little bit at the end. Not in the end, maybe in the middle. But and again, if you see me stop for just a second, I probably stop to take a picture or look at a rock or see something, But I try to at least any time I stop, I try to cut out the dead space. I'm in a 22 Jeep Wrangler 4-door JLU Rubicon. I'm on 37s. I have a Metal Cloak 3.5-inch lift and Metal Cloak skid plates, so I'm pretty well armored up. I have a 12,000 pound winch, and I have sand mats with me, a shovel, all sorts of like gear to go with the winch, snatch blocks, soft shackles, hard shackles, you name it. I got all sorts of stuff. So, and I have tools and first aid kit. I'm by myself. Shell is in New Hampshire. She flew out to visit youngest daughter, and they'll have a great visit. But in the meantime, here I am out here exploring. Did not see burrows. I just saw a little critter go up the side there. Somewhere in this video there's a little, some kind of critter. I couldn't tell if it was not a marmot, but like a groundhog, or I don't know, some kind of larger ground squirrel, badger. I don't think it was a badger, because I didn't see any big hole for it to disappear in, but one of these corners I remember I come around and I saw something like larger and flat kind of go across the trail in front and then disappeared into a bunch of prickly pears. So I'm not sure where that is, but or if the GoPro was able to pick it up. You see kind of bluebird skies. It's pretty sunny. The whole beginning part of the trail, which we haven't shown a lot, there's some prickly pears. It was all prickly pears. Like the beginning of this trail is all prickly pears all the way up, and there's no trees. And now you can kind of see we're kind of like getting, as we're climbing, it's like you're starting to add a bunch of trees, and the prickly pears are starting to go away, and you get a couple other cactuses in there, the little purple prickly pears and some of those other little I don't remember the name of them. There's no cholla ones, but the other little one that kind of like sticks out and grabs you everywhere. But you can start to see trees, so that's kind of interesting. It's like you're just changing environments, just driving like a mile or so in a certain direction, but you can kind of see how barren it is. It's like up ahead, but you still see a bunch of trees down there on the side, and then later in the trail you'll see where it's almost nothing but trees, and that's pretty cool. It's like it's always changing here, and we kind of notice that like the plants, like it's always desert, it's always dry, but the plants change significantly from mountain to mountain, and area to area. I'd still like to get into an area where there's big cactuses. Now on top of that hill up there, there's like a little mine structure. I was gonna go up to see it, but yeah, these cows here, so I didn't want to disturb them. But they're right on the trail, and then it's just like, oh, for Pete's sakes. Now they moved, and they're like basically blocking the trail. But you go up behind them and go up that hill a little bit, and there's a big hunk of wood up there for the mine that used to be. But these are, someone's cows, just wild grazing out here. And one's got his horns trimmed, so they're not super pointy. In case he decides to like stab somebody, he's not doing a little murder death kill there. So I'm just like backing out and head down the trail, and then GoPro never quite captures the top of that hill, but there's like a big wooden thing up there. There's no cows there. You can go up and explore that. But right down here, you're gonna see some giant cement columns. Looks like they were made out of barrels or something. And there they are. The cows are up above. Some kind of tank over there. Water tank or what kind of tank, I don't know. It looks like maybe one of those tanks that they could rotate and have sorting rock, because it has that cone on it. Or it could just be one that sits up on end and be a water tank. I don't know. Probably a water tank, but just coming down here to turn around. It's an old trail that keeps going, but I'm gonna just, for the most part, try to stick to the main trail that's on Onyx, and then just get a picture or so right next to these columns. Gonna be kind of hard with the way the sun is situated, but make it happen. Boom, click, magic, we're driving again. funny. It's like, even though this is a trail, and I've seen people on YouTube going here. It's like this section here. It's like it's hard to tell that it gets any use at all. It's kind of starting to go away. It's harder to see, and there's some sections where it's like very obvious, but it just kind of. It's interesting. Every once in a while, it's like you get to a section and it's just like, yeah, it doesn't look like this ever gets use. And it's like, well, how does the stuff behind it get use if this doesn't get use? So here's a spot where I'm coming here and I'm kind of like, I know, like, I'm like the trail does not line up on Onyx well. And so I was like looking over on the way down to that spot, and I didn't see where I was supposed to go. So I was just like, I saw a rock feature just over that hill. Like when I was higher up, I could see over the hill. You see the line going up of the trail. So I'm going to go up that just so I can go look at that rock feature. Figure I'd go a little ways and then turn around and then head back to the trail. So this is one little minor deviation from, if you're following Onyx, you're not going to be on this. But basically, I just wanted to go look at the pretty rock. And see what I can see. can see the rock. It's that jagged little thing right there. GoPro makes it look pretty small, but it's significant size. And I was just like, well, let's just see, how close can we get to it, whatever, and we'll just check it out. We'll just head this way a little ways. So right here I decide, it's like, yes, that all looks interesting, but let's get back to the trail. And that trail actually will connect to the trail. But when I looked at the map, it looked like I would miss out on a whole bunch of like switchbacks and little ziggity zags on the map of the main trail. And I'm like, these are all straight. That sounds like that would be more interesting over there. So let's make sure we get back so we don't miss any of that. And for the most part, I've got like a huge chunk of the trail on here. There was just a little bit where the GoPro fell asleep, ran out of battery, and I'm not sure how much trail I lost, but none of it was super scary or sketchy. There was interesting parts, I'm sure, that I missed, but videoing. But for the most part, this is the majority of the trail, the circle loop. So if you're interested in this trail, you can see what's there, and maybe you decide to go the other way, because going uphill over most obstacles is a little easier to control. But either way, I think it's fine. I think this trail is rated a 5 out of 10 for like how big of obstacles you have to go up or down. But I'm finding that trail rating system is a little goofy. So like this is a 5 out of 10. 10 miles up, closer to Henderson. So like this was like an hour and 10 minutes for me to get to the trailhead from where I live. And the Chloride Mine Trail, which is right next to it, is rated a 7 out of 10. And that was a significantly easier trail. Like, I would almost put that as a beginner trail. Like, any Jeep can do that right now. Now, obviously, if the rains come or, next spring because of the snow melt, if they have snow melt, things could change. But that trail is a 7 out of 10. And it's like, well, what does that even mean? that's like, I think that's part of it. It's like there really isn't a good trail rating, because it's like, I know out east everybody's like, green, blue, black, red, and it's like you've got some areas that have like their greens are like blues or their blues are like blacks, and compared to other trails in the area, and it's just like nobody's consistent. I would say, like, all right, so this is a 5 out of 10 because of some of the climbs. Okay, I can give you that. But I would say, based on, difficulty of doing some things or whatever, I would say this was, had a few sketchy parts where if you're not someone that pays attention on when you're driving, then this is probably got some areas where you could get yourself in trouble if you're not paying attention, because there's a couple like tight little areas where you could slip off on either side. There's some like washout areas where you could get into trouble a little bit and whatnot. So I don't know how you'd rate that. I'm not going to call it expert. I know I'm set up pretty well, and you'll see later, I was like driving into the sun, and even though and I am set up to do trails, especially by myself. Like I've got 37-inch tires. I'm aired down. I was aired down to 15. I have skid plates. It's a Rubicon, so I have lockers. It's really, well set up for this kind of stuff. But it's like, and I have a front camera. So like anytime I'm, come up to a ledge or anything, I can just have my camera on, and it's like it helps give me like a little spot. So even though I can't see over my hood, and you'll lose some objects sometimes, it's like, it's kind of like a cheat mode, right? It's like, it's just, this Jeep makes everything easier. But I was driving into the sun. This is near the end of the trail, and it wasn't that difficult of an obstacle, but there's a rock or something in the shadow that I couldn't see. There's a hole, also a washout. And so like I'm driving along, and all of a sudden it's just like, nope, can't go no more. And it's like, even with the Jeep locked up, so all 4 tires are locked, nope, I was just spinning. I had to back up a little ways, and you'll see it. I made a couple attempts going forward at that point, and it's like it got close, but I kept getting pulled into the crack. And I really couldn't even see, because it was like pointing into the sun. You're kind of like being blinded. Then the sun creates a shadow, so you can't see in there. Well, I backed up and then stayed hard to the left and was able to just go. That's pretty much where I had any difficulty at all, and it was only because, just the way the sun was pointing at that moment. But overall, that wasn't all that difficult. It was just kind of a weird situation. And there's a lot of like being off camber. You can kind of see the Jeep is always kind of tipped just a little bit. These trails have eroded a little bit, so like the passenger side tire here, it's like material has fallen on that side of the trail, so it lifts up just a little bit, and then you've got the downhill side has got a little less, so it's like you're always kind of tipped somewhere between 5 and 15 degrees, and depending, it's like up to like 20, 22 degrees. Something. I think the most I was yesterday was 25 when I started looking at it. Put it on my front dash cam. And with me rambling, rambling on a little bit. I forgot to mention. So when I headed up that little hill back there and then took the left, that's when I got back on the trail according to Onyx maps. So I'm back on the map and heading the right direction and whatnot. So all this is going to be on that trail. Here's a gate, just like magic. Boom. Teleported out of the way. Get through. Then I'm going to stop for a second. Get back. Put the gate back. And then head back on my way, which is right now. So everybody is always like, yep, just make sure when you come across a gate, leave it the way you found it. So that's what I did. It was closed, so I left it closed. So this is kind of interesting. This side here on the left-hand side is like a huge garbage dump for the miners. They just threw all their cans, probably everything really, but it's like the foodstuffs and everything else is rotted away, but there's just tons of old cans here. And you know, because it's the desert, it takes a long time for them to go away. And so I'm taking pictures. All these miners out here, just like disposing of their trash right next to a road. Like, what the hell is that? Which is just weird to me. Like, why would you, dump your trash right where you're going to see it all the time? And, I grew up in Wisconsin. Interesting thing is, old farmers, a lot of times, I mean, some of them, I'm sure dumped them which way, but up on top of the hill of the farm we had, there was this place named Little Norway, and at the very it was just like a hill that had like a little creek that ran through it, and then the pioneer farmers or whatever would dump all their trash into that ravine, and I guess probably, I don't know, but it's some level polluting the little clear water creek that runs from that little farther down in the crack, which is a pretty area. But as a kid, we used to go digging in that ravine there for like flat tops and old beer cans and beer bottles and things from way back when. And well, anyway, my point is like they kind of hid. A lot of farmers would hide their trash in a ravine so they wouldn't have to see the damn thing. And then here you got these miners, just instead of like, you've got like all sorts of places that are right off the road a little bit that you could just been dumping those cans. Nobody would have seen them except they were hiking over there or something. But instead they're like, nope, this is good enough right here. I work hard in that mine all day. I'm not traveling another 10 feet so that this stuff is out of sight. And right here, you get a view of what is part of the Gross Spring Mine, which is, I guess, a copper mine. And it's like, looks like a massive pond that they have built for, I don't think it's still running, but I'm not sure. Just a massive mine. I didn't get that close to it. I got close to that, to what you see there, that big, distilled pond or whatever, and you see that Caribbean blue that makes you want to swim in it. Well, that's just toxic chemicals that'll kill you on the spot, so don't swim in that. But it looks pretty from a distance, and I try not to think about how nasty the water really is and how harmful these companies really are for our environment, and the fact that they make millions and then are able to find loopholes to just walk away with all that money pocketed and distributed to shareholders and everything else, and then we just pack our bags and leave, and by the way, all these toxic chemicals that are extremely deadly for humans and animals and plants and everything, we're just going to leave them right there. Thanks for the money. I find that pretty shitty. I think if you can't do your business without cleaning up after, like look, you've removed all that material. That's fine. Okay. And I know a lot of places are like, well, if you remove material, you have to fill it with material. And that's good too. But even in this case, it's like, okay, maybe they didn't have that rule, that's fine. But I think any toxic chemicals, all that shit, part of your business plan is, how are we going to get rid of this stuff? How do we make sure we're not contaminating groundwater supply? Because here's the thing. It's like we're in the desert, and for the most part, you don't think of deserts as having water, but there's water under there. It's just like 1,000, 2,000 feet deep, but there's water under there. So all of our natural water is connected. And that's what we have to, as humans, think about. It's like, you can't just, allow these corporations just to make millions and billions and then be like, let's just, wash our hands and get rid of this place and leave the mess for society to clean up someday and create these Superfund sites, which are interesting to explore and see because, otherwise you sit there and think, how else are you going to get to see some of this stuff? You never get to see a facility where they are breaking down rocks and stuff into their finer components and then somehow extracting gold, silver, platinum from the rocks and minerals, right? And we know that they're using very toxic chemicals, and some cases even cyanide, and for them to just be leaving this stuff and just look at that, what do you mean you're just leaving this toxic sludge sitting there? It's no, that's unacceptable. It's that part of your business plan should be, you have to figure out how to get rid of all this shit. here I just wanted to take a peek with the GoPro. See if I could see like a big mine up in there. And there is a mine, couple little holes, but they were filled in, so it wasn't something we could just walk into. I was hoping there'd be something kind of interesting to just be able to take a peek in, but nope. think this mine that you see off on your right, you see like some tailings piles and some wood structure over there. There's like a little mine building on there, over there. That's called the Alpha Mine. Because, you know, it was just so big, it was Alpha. So dominant, it was Alpha. What a silly name. Clearly wasn't Alpha. I mean, just look at that massive gross mine. You know, that was the Alpha mine in the area. This is just a mine. But it's cute that he thought they were really Alpha. Fucking Alpha. If you're running around thinking people are alphas and betas, you're more likely a beta. It's like, what a joke. There's no alphas and betas. What the fuck? Sorry for my swearing. Jeez. And that right there is why I never say, this is made for children. No, it's not made for children. Alright, so I'm looking, I see that wooden structure, I'm thinking, oh gee, wouldn't it be nice if I was able to take a picture next to that? So I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I'm going to do that. Well, I gotta have this little runoff area here. And I'm like, oh, I can just make a hard left here. Boom, and then just drive right up to it. And it looked, you know, when I got up there, I didn't really see another trail that got up to it easier. So that turned out to be the best one. You see the metal building there. It looked like they were using some toxic chemicals up here too. You can kind of tell because some of the rocks look like they were kind of stained yellow, which is kind of a typical color like you see like when we go to Colorado and around all those gold mines. There's that one that's got those gold mines that are like polluting that creek with whatever it is and staining it all yellow. Rocks on the ground were kind of like that. So I got my picture with the little wood structure. Took a little peek at the old at the little building there. And was just like, okay, let's go. Head down into this wash. Right about here, I was just like, you know, that feels kind of strange. Let's get out and take a picture. So that's what I did there. So, you know me on Facebook. You see me in a group or something, and you see a real twisty picture. I was kind of surprised. I was kind of thinking like that the front wheel would be off the ground there, but it was not. It was touching a rock. If the rock wasn't there, maybe it would have been. I don't know. But I was surprised. So here is like kind of one of those spots where it's like I was saying, like, it's not really super bad, but like you're off camber. I think it was like a 20, 24 or 25 at the worst. But you're slightly uphill, but the downhill side is a pretty good drop. And it's not that big of a drop, but the thing is, when you're sideways, if you were to slide that way, you're definitely going to roll because the drop is significant, that you don't want to make a mistake there. So you can see I took a little longer getting there, and I was ready to hit the gas if I had to do anything to make sure I didn't roll. I don't know if it's coming up here or not, but there's like a lot of places where like it's just the washouts, you have to like straddle cracks a lot, and because they're deep, it's like just going to be on the side of your Jeep. It's like that's not all that good. I think coming up here, I kind of like went off to the side just a little bit, and you can see that's the trail. It's like you can see that's right where the grooves were, but kind of a goofy way. This drop here was actually pretty significant. I don't know if you can tell. I'm trying to decide if I should get out and look at it, or should I you should probably always get out and look at it. If you think you need to get out and look at it, then you need to get out and look at it. Then I was able to just straddle. And part of it was like me deciding, was that crack significant enough that one of my tires is going to be close to the edge that I could potentially slip in and then put the Jeep on the side, damage something. Again, that's the thing with the cracks. It's like it's not so much that there's a crack, but is it narrow enough that I can easily straddle it? Or if it is a wide crack, can I safely straddle it so that the Jeep stays upright going through? And that's what I did. I was able to just straddle it and just go down the drop and not have to worry about it. here's an instance here. It's like on Onyx, it looks like the person went straight, and you can see that other trail on the left go up, and it meets up with where they went. So I'm like, well, they went down, so I should probably go down. And then you see this, and you're just like, well, maybe this got washed out, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But looking to the side there on the left, I didn't see another trail going upward, and that's right where it's supposed to be. And Onyx's GPS of the map that they showed that there should have been something there, and clearly, the GPS was wrong there. So even though there's a trail that kind of went down that way, it's like it wasn't the right trail. So I just backed out and got back on track. So then, while looking at the Onyx map, you see me. Now I'm to the left to their blue line, but I'm heading right to the other line. So you're just like, the whole time it's just like, it's kind of like this game, like, am I on the right trail? Because when Onyx isn't, like, it could be me, right? Like maybe that person's thing read it accurately, and it's just my phone isn't reading the coordinates accurately. I don't know. But like in that case, I think it was them for sure, because clearly it showed them doing a right angle 90-degree turn, and there was no 90-degree turn there. And this just turned into the trail, so. So this is that spot I was telling you about in the beginning. It's we're going uphill. The sun, as you can see, it's like right in front. It's even bothering the GoPro a little bit. And you can kind of see there's a little washout there. But it doesn't look all that significant. But, well, it sucked you into this little hole, and the Jeep's like, nope, we're not going to be able to get out of this. So I backed up, And then I blocked the lockers. Like, okay. And the little hole is like, we're just going to eat your Jeep today. We almost climbed you out. But then it's like, nope, you're still not going anywhere. So I was just like, oh, for Pete's sakes. Nope. It's like, even staying away from the crack now, it's like, now the eroded part is just gonna say, yeah, you can't go that way. And I'm sitting there, and the thing is, I can't see in the front camera. I don't see what the problem is. None of it looked all that complicated, right? So like I tried again. I moved over to the right, got immediately into the hole. You see the dust? That just was me spinning the tires a little bit. It's just super loose dirt there, so I backed way down. You can kind of see there was like kind of like a hump I was straddling, I guess, and that's what was causing the problem. So now I'm got my passenger tire on that hump, and it's just up and over, not a problem. This is where you can kind of see like the backside of this trail over here is, it's pretty wore out. Like, it's washed out, I should say. It's got a bunch of erosion that happened. So you can see like when I come to these areas, it's like you can be to the right or to the left, but then you always risk like, here it's like, okay, I'm riding that edge. Is the edge wide enough that I can fit and not slide into the hole? Because I just don't want to set myself up where it's like you do a little drop and then you roll it onto the side. Even if it's just a slight roll, it's like it just, not a full roll. It's not something you want. So it's like always something trying to decide, like, how close am I gonna get? Am I going to be able to make this safely? And then like here you see it's like I'm just like, I'm just going to straddle that little hole. I'm not gonna mess with trying to be all cute. I'm just riding the wash all the way down to where it gets back into a road. I'm just like, that's just gonna be the easiest way. And coming here, you're just like, alright, what am I gonna do with these damn things? So I just said, I'm just gonna straddle this big thing. So front tire's gonna drop a little bit here, and then it'll climb up that. And I'm just like, well, that's what we're gonna do. Yep, there was plenty of room for me to go all the way to the right, but this is the trail. I'm just trying to do my part, and maybe I kick a little dirt in that little thing, and it kind of wears back down to where it could be manageable. But again, it's like in here, it's like I'm just following the crack down, staying in between, and just boom, now I'm back on the trail. It's semi-normal. I think there was a little drop here. Not a drop, but like, just that it goes down. Little drop. And the trail just goes right up this side here. It's kind of steep and loose gravel. Doesn't look all that steep, but it was much steeper than it looks. Like, really, honey, it's much larger than it looks. And there you go. Just about 10 minutes from the end of the video. But it's very beautiful out here. It was a nice ride. Kind of kept me on my toes most of the day on the second half, coming down a lot. I feel like going up would be a little easier if you ran it the other way, but I don't think it really much matters too. It doesn't matter that much both ways, but feel like it would be a little easier going uphill up some of those loose, any of those cracks or the loose stuff. It's like it's easier to control going uphill, I think, than downhill. It's like you're kind of committed to just, once you're in there, you're committed, where going uphill, it's like you're never committed. You are to any way you got to turn around, you're committed to going through that, but not on that obstacle. But when you're pointed downhill, it's much harder to back uphill. So here's kind of a weird thing. Now, there's no signal out here. So I don't have I don't have a good signal. And apparently the trail was right there. Not there, but straight. If I would have just kept going straight instead of turning. And I'm having trouble with Onyx, and I'm like looking like, well, I don't see the trail. You're showing me like not exactly on it, so I'm not sure. So then I'm like, okay, I'll turn around. I'll go back to where I was. See, I saw an area that looked like maybe that was part of the trail, but I think actually the trail, and you'll see in a minute why. Like, there's a trail over here. Because, like, you know, the miners and stuff, they made trails everywhere. But before I forget, you noticed on the left-hand side when I first walked up that area, there's like, it's like when they had a fire up in here or something. There was like a tarp under the dirt that got melted in some of those cracks. So looking off to the left at that dark area, you'll see like, looks like rubber tarp that's sticking out. So here I'm getting onto a trail, and I see that Onyx wants me just up here just a little bit. So I'm just like, all right, well, I see this down to the creek, and I see the old trail going up the hill. Just head up that. And it's clearly it's a trail, but the miners used it. I'm just sitting here, I'm just like, okay. I'm just about connected with the blue again. And then you get on, and it's like, holy crap, look at that. It's practically a paved road. And then once I got a little bit of signal, I could see, you look back, it's like, oh yeah, there was a trail back there. And it went right, so if I would have just kept going straight up, even though Onyx was showing me it was supposed to be on my right-hand side, if I would have gone straight up to the top of that whole dark area instead of turning early and then turning around, I'd have ran into this nice little gem. This is all like, it's pretty graded gravel. And there you go. And from here, it's like there's still a bunch of ups and downs. I didn't include everything. I ran into a nice couple that was in a Subaru, and we talked for a little while out here, and so that was nice. And well, anyway, then from here, it's like it wasn't that much farther. I mean, it is, but like this is where the trail's nice, and so you can be doing like 15, 17 miles an hour, and not a problem. And made my way back to the highway and aired up, then ran into that couple just as I finished, and said goodbye again, and drove an hour home. I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.